Hi everyone, in this video I want to talk about solving quadratic equations by completing the square. Here are the two problems that we'll do, and to make sure we don't take ourselves too seriously, let's think about the fun question. If you were hosting a dinner party for 5 friends, what would you serve if money was no object? So on the math section, you will always see quadratics. And with quadratics, you may have to use a graph. You may have to solve, you may have to answer a question about, like a root or an x-intercept or something like that. But for solving, which I've seen on there commonly, there are 4 different methods that you could use to solve a quadratic equation. And completing the square is one of them. I have videos on the other 3 if you want to watch them. So when should you use completing the square? Well, let's look at this flow chart. This is what we use in class to pick which of the 4 makes the most sense. So the first question you ask is there a GCF, a greatest common factor? And you would want to take that out right away. Then you think, can you factor the quadratic? If the answer to that is yes, then you would do factoring. If the answer is no, and you're noticing that, you know how it's ax squared plus bx, if the a term is 1 and the b term is an even number, then you can do this completing the square method. If the answer is no to both of those, then quadratic formula works every time. And then sort of the different one is the square root. That's when you see that the equation is a single perfect square. So completing the square, although it's not that common that you would have to use this, some people prefer to use completing the square. And I'm noticing that, yes, my a term is 1 and my b term is even. So let's go for it. Now, you might be thinking, well, this is factorable and it'd be way faster with factoring. Some people prefer completing the square though, so they might choose to do it on this. Either way, you'd get the same answer. Okay, completing the square, you actually don't start with a 0 on the right side. So I'm going to get rid of that 24 from the left and rewrite this as x squared minus 10x and then plus something equals negative 24 plus something. And this something is sort of like your magic number that you're thinking of to do the problem. And how do you figure this out? Well, I want this side to eventually be something squared so that I can use the square root method to finish it. So how do I do that? Well, I can take this negative 10 and cut it in half. That would give me negative 5. And I can take that negative 5 and square it to get 25. So that is going to give me positive 25. Whatever I have on one side, or whatever I add to one side, I must add to the other. And now once I factor this, I get x minus 5 equals 1. What I love now is I can use the square root method because we have something squared. So I'm going to do that, square root both sides. We get x minus 5 equals positive or negative 1. So this is pretty easy to finish. You just add 5 to both sides, and we get x equals 5 plus 1 and 5 minus 1. So we get a 6 and a 4. Now, you might be saying, well, hey, if I factored this, it would have been x minus 6, x minus 4. Yeah, so either way, you would get that 6 and 4 as your answer. Now, I put these directions in here on purpose. It says to complete the square. Okay, the ACT will not ever tell you what method you have to use. But for this, I wanted to give directions to note that you might be asked to do exact or decimal. In our answer here, these numbers are whole numbers, so it didn't really apply, but it could be the case that instead of like square root of 1, what if you had square root of 17? Then you might be working with an answer later on, you know, where you have, let's say, like 3 plus root 19 and 3 minus root 19. Well, those are exact answers. You wouldn't actually plug those in the calculator to get the rounded version. And then we will practice the rounded decimal version in the second problem here. So just to note the difference. Okay, this problem, we need to move some things around as well. We want that constant number on the right side, and we want the b term on the left side. So I want to get the b term over here, and I want to get the constant term over here. Okay, so those will cancel, and we're left with n squared minus 13n plus something equals negative 39 plus something. Okay, so how do I find that magic number again? Well, you go negative 13 over 2. Ugh, okay, that 13 is not even this time, it's odd. So I need to cut it in half, and yes, I get a decimal. You can still use completing the square with odds, which is why I chose this problem. And, you know, it will work out. Thankfully, this one, we can put our answer in a decimal version. So this answer is going to be long. So I'm going to do negative 6.5 squared, and that is 42.25. Okay, so that's 42.25 going in here. And now it's time to factor. So how do you know how to factor it again? Well, you know this with this problem up here, this negative 5 and it matched here and here and here and here. That is the number, you know, after you cut that b term in half. So this negative 6.5 would be the version, you know, for this problem. So this is going to be n minus 6.5, n minus 6.5. You could write that as 13 halves too, but I think decimal version is better. And then 42.25 minus 39 is 3.25. Okay, so now I can use the square root method, which I like. And I'm going to square root both sides. And I'm going to get n minus 65 equals positive or negative, and then whatever that is. So let's just keep it in that version for right now. And then we'll throw it in the calculator in decimal form. So it's going to be 6.5 plus root 3.25 and 6.5 minus root 3.25. All right. So with a calculator, I'm going to plug that in, and I'm getting, let's just round to the nearest tenth. It'll tell you typically, oh, thousandth. It'll tell you what to round to. For this, it'd be 4.697. And then the other one is 6.5 minus square root 3.25. Okay. I actually need to do the plus. So this is down here, and up top, I did them backwards. So this one is 8.303. So there you have your two answers after completing the square, even if that middle term was an odd number. So let's try some practice. And there are two problems that are very similar to the examples. Why don't you pause the video and work them out, and I will reveal the answer in just a second. So we'll use the same directions as the other two. I'm getting integer numbers for the first one, and then decimal numbers for that second one. So to finish us off here, we've got a quote. There is a difference between not knowing and not knowing yet. This is great. It's totally the growth mindset. It's a great reminder for us all. So I hope this video helped you in some way. Feel free to leave your answer to the fun question in the comments. And if you'd like to keep up with new videos, feel free to subscribe. Have a good day. Thank you.